Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Greg Lynn, Principal, Robert E. Lee High School. I want to welcome you to the dedication of the field at Pete Soltis Stadium in the Memorial Sports Complex at Lee High School. The dedication is for Ron Kramer, former Lee head coach and Goose Creek CISD Athletic Director. I want to thank you for being here, and at this time I'd like to introduce the acting superintendent for Goose Creek CISD, Mr. Randall O'Brien.
Good evening, good evening. I have the honor of introducing a few people represented by Goose Creek Schools in our community. I also want to welcome you here this evening. First, let me recognize Mr. Jimmy Smith, our school board president. Secretary Vicki Mello. Looking for other board members. Okay, that's it for this evening. I'd also like to introduce our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum Instruction, Dr. Melissa Duarte. Our Area Executive Director over the Lee High School feeder pattern is Raul Moreno. Baytown City Council Member Bob Hoskins. And other members of the Lee College Board of Regents, including Dr. Brown, President of Lee College. If you're here, please stand. Well, this evening, although I didn't know Mr. Kramer personally, his legend precedes him this evening. Many of the people that I've talked to and have talked about Coach Kramer reminisce about the good times. His service to Goose Creek Schools and this community is amazing, and we thank him. We want to thank you for showing up tonight to honor him. I believe we can see that he is a legend. You'll hear that from other speakers this evening. I'd like to introduce to you now former Goose Creek teacher, athletic director, and principal of Goose Creek Memorial High School, Mr. Al Richard.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. At this time, I ask that you would please rise for the pledges to the flags, which will be led by Robert E. Lee Drum Major Tara Beavers, also the Lee Student Council President, and to remain standing for the national anthem, which will be sung by country music recording artist Corey Morrow.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now for the Texas pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streamed, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave
Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Corey. It is with much pride that I was asked to serve as Master of Ceremony for today's Ron Kramer Field dedication. I had the privilege of meeting Coach Kramer during my first days as a teacher at Robert E. Lee during the fall of 1983, as his illustrious coaching career in Baytown was winding down. It did not take long for me to realize how special Coach Kramer was to the success of Lee football from the time he joined the Gander staff as his assistant coach in 1959, through his 16 years as head coach, and until his retirement from Goose Creek in 1991 as the district's athletic director. I am honored to be involved today. At this time, I would like to introduce the Kramer family members who are present today for the dedication. First and foremost, we have Coach Kramer's wife, Merla. Merla and Ron were married for 40 years. She was also a dedicated teacher in Goose Creek and retired in 2013 after 38 years of service. Thank you, Merla. Also with us this evening are Ron's two sons. First, Ron's elder son, Kyle, a 1984 graduate of Robert E. Lee, and Kyle was privileged to play under his dad's tutelage while he was a Gander. Ron's younger son and a 1989 Lee graduate, Scott Kramer, is here tonight, along with his wife, Claire. Scott participated at Lee in athletics while Coach Kramer served as the athletic director. Another close family member present tonight is Kyle and Scott's cousin, Mark Kramer, Ron's nephew, who also had the opportunity to wear the maroon and white during the 80s. Also present to honor Coach Kramer are numerous former athletes who learned not only how to play football, but also how to be well-rounded young men under his guidance. Would all former athletes who were coached by Ron Kramer please stand and be recognized? Thank you very much. And finally, also here tonight to honor their friend's legacy are the members of the Gander coaching staffs of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Would those of you who worked alongside Coach Kramer please stand and be recognized? Thank you. So just why and how did we get to this point today? While serving as Goose Creek's athletic director in 2005, I was one of several hundred persons in attendance as we paid our final respects to Coach Kramer at his funeral. That day I realized that Baytown had lost a great legend. Having only heard about but never seen the feats performed by former Gander coaches Dan Stallworth and Pete Soltis, I could actually say I had seen the effects Ron Kramer had on the young men he led at Robert E. Lee. As athletic director at the time, I felt it was my responsibility to see that his legacy did not fade into the distant memories of Baytown residents. So upon my retirement from Goose Creek in 2012, I approached the school board and asked for consideration to honor Coach Kramer's legacy in the Gander community. To my delight, action was taken in July 2012 to name this playing field in his honor. And while we had to wait 2 more years for my request to become reality, we have finally arrived at this point as we etch Ron Kramer's name permanently to this facility. I would like to thank former Goose Creek Superintendent Dr. Toby York, former Athletic Director Tom Ed Gooden, and members of the Goose Creek Board of Trustees from 2012 for helping make my request become a reality. So now let's get on with the dedication. When we were planning tonight's event, we thought it would be neat to hear from a former Gander player about what it was like to play for Coach Ron, and to hear from a former coach about what it was like to work as a member of Coach Kramer's staff. One name, not two, quickly came to mind. Carl Scantlin served both of those roles during his tenure at Robert E. Lee. A player for Coach Kramer in the 60s, Carl later became an assistant coach for Ron in the 70s. Coach Scantlin eagerly accepted the invitation to give his reflections on both playing for and working with Coach Kramer. Unfortunately, Coach Scantlin called me the other evening, just being released from the hospital, and told me that he was not clear to be here. However, he did send his thoughts tonight, and in his absence, Coach Kramer's son Scott has agreed to share with us those words that Carl had prepared. Please welcome Scott Kramer to the podium.
Hello. Hopefully I'll do Scantlow some justice here. But first and foremost, Scantlow wanted to thank the school board for deciding to do this, and you, Al, for all your hard work and getting it done. Scantlow says this place will always be the most special place to him, basically hallowed ground. The stadium is special to this community because it's a breeding ground of community, honor, pride, and tradition that men this stadium is dedicated to defended their entire lives. It's even more special to Scantlow because it's now named for Mr. Pete Saltis and my dad, Ron Kramer. When Scantlow came to Lee High School as a freshman in 1960, all 4 junior highs fed in to Lee. And at the time, Coach Kramer, Coach Kern, and Coach Lonsberry coached the Suicide Squad. Effectively, now I think politically correctness, you have to call it the junior varsity. But at that time, Coach Kramer, Coach Kern, and Coach Lonsberry molded these young men into Ganders. Coach Kramer was very tough, demanding, but extremely fair. He would correct you and praise you with equal enthusiasm. He motivated us to get better every day, and for that, Coach Kramer was greatly respected. After 3 years of coaching at Highlands Junior High, Coach Kramer invited me, Scantlow, to join the Gander staff. And not only was that amazing, it was a dream come true. Not only did Ron give me my first high school coaching job, but he made me a part of a coaching family. And they are all close friends still today. Ron was the most organized man I've ever known. Unfortunately, I did not inherit that. When he gave you a job, he expected it to be done in prompt time and correct. He led the staff with respect and loyalty, and for that, he received respect and loyalty in return. Ron Kramer, this is where it's difficult, was much more than just a friend. He and Bob Cowlitz were the big brothers I never had. We hunted and fished all over Texas and had more fun than you could ever believe. I am forever indebted to Ron. He was a confident, strong mentor, and I love this man and his family, and I think about him every day. In closing, I can only say to the coaching family, thank you for allowing us to be a part of your family. And again, Mr. Richard, thank you so much. And Barbara, thank you for being here. And go Ganders.
Thank you, Scott. If you knew Coach Scantlin, he would have cried a lot more than Scott just did. Next up, I have the privilege to introduce to you the current Director of Athletics for Goose Creek CISD, Mr. Bernie Mulvaney, who will introduce our next speaker.
Thank you, Al. I would like to introduce, and it's my honor and privilege, to introduce Mr. Bob Hoskins, City Council, District Number 5, and also a former player of Coach Kramer. We will follow that by the cheerleaders leading the traditional cheer, We Got a School, and that will be followed by the band and the celebrities honoring Coach Kramer with a performance of Dull Razor Blues. So let's give a round of applause for Mr. Bob Hoskins.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here on this wonderful day. I think it's only fitting that this field be named after Ron Kramer. Welcome to his classroom. This is it. I see a number of football players out there, athletic people that played under his tutelage. And tell me that it doesn't pay off to have an athletic program like what Ron Kramer had. I think he's done a wonderful job. And I see these coaches sitting up here my old coaches. I feel like I should be running laps or something right now. All the coaches up there, and it's good to see those guys. I'd like to read a proclamation from the mayor of Baytown. Whereas Ron Kramer served as assistant and head football coach as well as swimming coach of the Robert E. Lee High School, and whereas he was also the Goose Creek CISD athletic director, serving from 1959 to 1991. And whereas during his 16 years as head coach, Ron's teams garnered 109 wins and 54 losses, and compiled 1 district co-championship, 4 district championships, 5 trips to bi-district playoffs, 2 trips to regional playoffs, and 1 trip to state quarterfinals. And whereas 96 of his student athletes are selected as all-district, 3 played on the South All-Star football team, 4 were named All-State, 6 were recognized as outstanding backs, and 1 was chosen as an All-American. And he was selected as coach to coach the high school South All-Star football team in 1981. And whereas he was, in addition to his coaching duties, Ron also served on the Texas High School Coaches Association Board of Directors, was a member of the Baytown Rotary Club, and served as a director of the Baytown Teachers Credit Union. Whereas Ron Kramer set a precedence for excellence at Robert E. Lee High School, as well as Goose Creek CISD. Now therefore, representing Mayor Steve as mayor of the city of Baytown, Texas, do hereby proclaim August 28, 2014 as Ron Kramer Day in Baytown, and encourage all citizens to honor and remember his many contributions to our community. Thank you all very much.
Ready? Okay! We've got school, and we've got to yell, and we've got a team that fights like L, L, L-E-E, L, L, L-E-E, 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 Lee, Lee, Lee!
Well, doesn't that just make you proud to be a Gander? I now have the privilege of introducing a former boss of mine, former Goose Creek Superintendent, Dr. Barbara Saltis, who happens to know a thing or two about Ron Kramer. Dr. Saltis is here tonight to perform the dedication ceremony. Dr. Barbara Saltis.
Good evening. Aggies would say good evening.
Good evening!
It's both a pleasure and a privilege to be here today. A pleasure because I was fortunate to be part of the Pete Soltis Stadium dedication to Superintendent of Schools. Thanks to the efforts of community members, Dr. Jerry Roy, and the school board trustees in 2001. A privilege because I was asked by Myrna Kramer and her sons to be part of the dedication of Ron Kramer Field at Pete Soltis Stadium. Since my dad couldn't physically be here today, I graciously accepted an invitation. Think about this scenario. Imagine that Robert E. Lee Fieldhouse is no longer here. It's a Friday night. Let's recall Ron Kramer's first 2 years as head coach here at then Memorial Stadium. Every Friday night, believe it or not, about 250 Robert E. Lee Band members would leave the band hall booming their well-known trilogy of songs. Those of you that are alumni or loyal Ganders know what I'm talking about. Then a group of about 150 Lee Brigadiers, the famous drum and bugle corps, would then march from the brig over to Memorial Stadium. What a great initiation for Coach Kramer as head coach. By the way, my dad was lucky enough to be the first head coach in 1967 to defeat Sterling, and Kramer did so my 3 years in high school. As in the book, some important information, there's a book called When God Winks. I always quote, "There are no coincidences." In talking with Merle, I asked her, why did Coach Kramer come to Baytown Goose Creek in the first place after graduating from Rice? Believe it or not, Henry Armstrong, former principal of Robert E. Lee and a fellow Rice graduate, had been one of Kramer's coaches at Del Mar Junior College. So there really are no coincidences. Yes, it's hard to believe, but I really was young once. Oh, by the way, my sister and I, one of my sisters and I, thought Coach Kramer was a nice-looking man, almost as good-looking as our Ken dolls. And in fact, we thought he was a hunk at the time. As a very curious young girl, my family and I ventured to Mount Pleasant, Texas back in 1965. Well, I'm sorry, Merle, but the only thing I remember about Mount Pleasant was a hotel swimming pool because we weren't allowed to go to your wedding. My dad was a groomsman in the wedding of horseman teacher Merle Riddle at the time to Robert E. Lee assistant football coach Ron Kramer. Move forward about 10 years. We always enjoyed Coach Kramer's motivational talk to the Brigadiers. As editor of the Robert E. Lee yearbook, I approached Coach Kramer with the request to use his son, Kyle. He was a very little 2-3-year cute toddler then, as part of the Lee Traveler opening section. Even as a senior, I was apprehensive about approaching Coach Kramer. However, he was a true gentleman and concurred. What a great memory for Kyle. Yes, it was definitely a hit in the yearbook. Kyle's holding a helmet, looking up at a senior football player in full football attire. One of the best pages, I think, probably in any yearbook. Now, a few personal tidbits I gleaned by Coach Kramer from not only his family, but also some of his personal colleagues. You've already heard some things from Scott. Marla stated that one of the highlights of Coach Kramer's career, besides coaching and affecting young men's lives, was in 1976, when President Ford visited Stalwart Stadium to experience true Texas football. I'm sure many of you remember that night. I do. President Ford was only supposed to stay one half. Well, he stayed longer. He wanted to stay even longer. And I heard the Secret Service agents almost had to pull him out to get him to leave. And I know a lot of you know he's afraid of snakes, and I'm not going to go into all the stuff about the practical jokes those guys played on him. Coach Kramer always believed in motivating his team, his army, as he called them. Before every football game, he played the abridged version of Patton's speech to the troops, George C. Scott's version. The lights in the locker room were dimmed, and there was no talking, just quiet meditation and focus on the task at hand. With Coach Kramer, there was always a deeper purpose, and that was certainly the case with the use of his Patton and of the sayings and teaching of Lombardi. There were a number of Lombardiisms posted around the Gander football field house, and I'm going to quote one of them. After all the cheers have died down and the stadium is empty, after the headlines have been written, and after you're back in the quiet of your room and the championship ring has been placed on the dresser, and after all the pomp and fanfare have faded, the enduring thing that is left is a dedication in doing with our lives the very best we can to make the world a better place in which to live. To Coach Kramer, winning was important, but surprisingly, winning was always what appeared on the scoreboard. Coach Kramer was far more interested in what appeared in the level of commitment, focus, and effort his teams put forth, as he knew that these traits would benefit players later in life. He was always quick to point out that his greatest reward was having a former player come back, which is another compliment to Merle tonight, and say thank you. Thank you for teaching me the value of commitment, dedication, focus, and effort. That makes the world a better place. Tonight we're honored to come together to dedicate the field at Pete Soltis Stadium in the Memorial Sports Complex at Robert Lee High School to Coach Ron Kramer. We will unveil the bronze plaque at the entrance to the stadium in a few minutes, but we have a replica of the plaque for the family. The inscription description reads as follows. H. Ron Kramer, Robert E. Lee High School, assistant football and swimming coach, Robert E. Lee High School head coach, Goose Creek CISD athletic director, 1959 to 1991. Coach Kramer's passion for the game can be seen in the impressive record Lee High School garnered under his 16-year command as head coach, including 109 wins, 54 losses, 1 district coach championship, 4 district championships, 5 trips to by-district playoffs, 2 trips to regional playoffs, and 1 trip to state quarterfinals. 96 of his student athletes were selected as all-district, 3 played on the South All-Star football team, 4 were named All-State, 6 were recognized as outstanding backs, and 1 was selected as All-American. Coach Kramer served on the Texas High School Coaches Association Board of Directors and was selected to coach the High School South All-Star football team in 1981 in Dallas, Texas. He was a member of the Baytown Rotary Club and served as a director of the Baytown Teachers Credit Union. Quote, those who coached alongside him from 1959 to 1991 fondly remember a man of fierce competition, loyalty, and dedication. Heather L. Nicholson, article in the Baytown Sun, April 2005. Would the Kramer family please come up to receive the plaque?
We would just like to thank everyone with the school district who had something to do with putting this together. This is a very special moment for us, for our coaching family. This field has so many memories. And we appreciate all of you being here to share this moment with us. And band and cheerleaders and celebrities, you'd have no idea how important the role that each of you plays is, how important you are to the football program. And thank you for being out here today. And I guess the one thing that I haven't heard said tonight is the old saying that once a gander, always a gander. So go gander!
Thank you very much. We're going to close tonight's ceremony with the playing and singing of the Lee School song. After the alma mater, everyone is invited to the unveiling of the plaque at the stadium entrance. Thank you for your attendance. Would you please stand for the Robert E. Lee School song? Thank you very much, Mr. O'Brien. Please go unveil our plaque at the stadium entrance. Thank you, everyone. Good evening.